Israel or something?
Oh, hey, how are you? Welcome. This is the smallest room in New York City, I guess. And the place is filled with cops tonight. We will be talking about how bad things are in New York City in just one moment. But I must introduce to my left the most illustrious panel that you can get. Legendary NYPD detective Ralph Friedman, the most highly decorated detective in NYPD history. Hey, Ralph. And, of course, author of Street Justice or Street Warrior and star of Street Justice. And both those available on Amazon. How's it going? Good to see you.
Good to see you, Pat.
Yes. And to his left, Sergeant John Krupinski from Danbury PD. It's okay to say, ain't it?
Sure.
Yeah.
A little late now, but that's all right.
Oh, whoops. Recipient of the Fox Patriot Award. That was for your video when you had the hockey players and you weren't having the kneeling business.
Not on our team.
Yeah, well, you made an impression on those young guys, and I'm sure. And right next to you, Jim Bladner. Hey, Jim, how are you?
Nice to meet you.
Former NYPD officer.
Yeah, back in the early 70s.
Yeah, back in the back in transit, back in the 70s. I'm sure it was a clean, wonderful place to work. You guys cleaned up the city, you know. I mean, it's and now you see it kind of go falling apart. What's that like?
It's an understatement.
Yeah,
it's terrible. It's how one or two people could ruin a whole city. They had an agenda, you know.
Oh, definitely to ruin it.
And these anarchists got their foot in the door with it and ran with it, and city is in terrible shape.
Yeah,
it gets so fast it occurred, and it's getting worse every day with the things that they're passing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they're totally taking all power and away from the police and handcuffing them.
Yep, and when I think about it's leadership problem, and when we look at the challenges law enforcement faces, because that's what the show is about tonight. It's about law enforcement does everything that nobody else can do, and the defunding the police idea is the most ridiculous idea. It's more than ridiculous. It's dangerous. It's not laughable. It's frightening. Now, when I think about leadership, that is, just the pits. I think of Mayor de Blasio. So, and I doubt you're a fan of de Blasio too much. I mean, he's the worst mayor ever, isn't he?
In history.
Yeah.
In any city, not just New York.
In any city.
In any city.
You always make it a little bigger every time.
The guy he signed a bill yesterday that totally defangs the police department. I mean, you can't put your arm or your knee on the neck, back, chest, ribs. I mean, I was an active police officer, but you got to be, you're dealing with violent criminals.
Sure.
If they resist, you have to use more force than they do to make the arrest. They can't use any force today. They can't, I don't even know how they touch them.
And the stakes are so high now, too, Ralph, right? And
they're totally emboldened, the criminals.
I'm a defensive tactics instructor, and my question has been, okay, we can't do anything, and it's going across all the states. Okay, you're telling us what we can't do. I'm okay with that. Listen, we got to follow the rules. I'll follow the rules. But I need you to tell me what we can do. What is it that we can do to effect an arrest of somebody who's resisting, doesn't want to come with you?
And what's the plan? What's the alternative?
There is no plan. There is no training, and no one's told us what we can do.
Yeah, and that's why the guy at the 4-6 resigned, I believe. Yeah,
God bless him.
He's
a leader, true leader.
Executive officer there.
Yeah,
the kind of analogy I'd have to get across sometimes to civilians. You've ever tried to diaper a baby? Now, I've had kids, okay? Now, you've got that little baby that weighs 10, 12 pounds there, and you're trying to get the diaper and it's squirming, you don't want to hurt it. Now, imagine you're trying to put handcuffs on that baby, but it's 200 pounds and maybe wants to kill you. Okay? How do you do with that? Okay.
Sure, maybe your baby's on PCP and ARMS.
Exactly. You know.
Yeah,
So,
you just don't know what you're dealing with, and I suppose when you walk up on cars at night, to even traffic stops, everything is dangerous. As we saw at the border town in Texas, the guys who got shot by an ambush, they were showing up for a domestic violence deal and shot and killed, had no idea, didn't know what hit them.
Police work has always, through any generation or era, has always been dangerous and hard.
Sure.
No matter what you're handling, even the simplest things that the public would see that they take for granted. You're driving down the highway and an officer's got someone pulled over. Mm-hmm. That could go south at any minute. Mm-hmm. And it's like something everybody looks at as routine. But now that you get these people that are violent and resist arrest, and you can't touch, you're in a fight and you're telling me I can't touch certain parts of their body. How do you do that?
At the peril of your freedom and your
life.
Yeah, and they can take all your savings. They can take your home. They can sue you in civil court, even if no one's injured. Right?
It's worse now than it's ever been because people like De Blasio and Cuomo and all the rest are what we call enablers. They have enabled these people. They have emboldened these people to say, you don't have to listen to the police. Oh, don't worry, they're not going to touch you. And now we're dealing with the aftermath. At some point in time, and it'll come, people are going to say, oh, gee, we had enough. We want you to be cops again. And I'm going to tell you, we're going to have to use a whole lot more force to regain control than they're complaining about last month.
Well, something to look forward to.
Not good. Not good.
Of course it's not good. And a lot of it is because of political pressure, the BLM movement, which has nothing to do with Black Lives at all. It's all about Marxist takeover, insurgency, that sort of a thing. So tonight's look at the challenges that face law enforcement. We're going to start here in New York City, the city where the leadership is so far beneath the dignity of the officers that you just can't get over it. Mayor de Blasio. So let's move along. Apparently, the mayor spoke at a very modestly attended gathering of our current favorite Marxist insurrectionists, Black Lives Matter.
We now have fewer people in our jails
because he let them all out.
Than any time since World War II. And we are safer for it and better for it.
If you say so, Mayor. I mean, I don't feel as if when you have shootings surging the way they are right now, murders, it's
called far from safe.
Far from safe. Far from safe. And
shootings up 202% in New York City. 202%.
Yeah, I hear different numbers all the time.
It's changing by the minute.
By the minute?
Yeah, you got to get the latest numbers.
There were like 5 shootings with 3 deaths in a 3-hour period the other day.
How many now?
I think there was 5 shootings, 3 people killed in like 3 hours.
In 3 hours, I know, yeah.
It's just like a reversal time machine going back 40 years like that.
Yeah, it didn't take very long. It didn't take 40 years to get back there, did it?
At least when we were fighting the violence, the cops were fighting a war on one front. Today, they're fighting a war on 2 fronts. You got the bad guys. You're always going to have the perpetrators and the criminals.
Yeah.
But today, you got to deal with like the politicians and your mayor and de Blasio. I mean, they want to lock you up. They want to lock you up. He wants the guns out there. If he takes away anti-crime, which is one of the best tools that the police department has, they were the most active go-get-em cops that took guns and arrested robbery criminals off the streets. And then now they took away anti-crime. They wiped it. Everything started within 24 hours. All these shootings started within 24 hours of removing anti-crime.
Word really travels fast, doesn't it? That it's okay to take your gun everywhere you go. Yeah.
It emboldened them right away.
600 officers who made that big of a difference, in a city of 8.5 million, and they were the plainclothes guys who were taking guns off of people and
constantly.
And now they are reassigned. It's just it's ludicrous, And look. If you guys can't do your jobs and you have the politicians, the mayors, the governors, or whoever, all these lefty Marxist type people, and the media, they're not helping either. They're
not at all.
So who's on your side?
That's why they're fighting 2 fronts.
Yeah.
You know, that's the whole thing. They don't know which way to turn.
Yeah.
And they're trying to indict them for stuff.
Yeah.
You know, for doing your job.
Right.
And I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they do it.
We've seen it happen time and time again. Dan Pantaleo, and we had it with Sergeant Barry with Deborah Danner, and we also saw it with Ramarley Graham, the guy who shot Ramarley Graham.
That was the one who had the gun
Richard
and
Hayes.
drugs and
Richard
ran
Hayes.
into the house.
Yeah, I believe they wanted to indict him. He did end up getting fired. Or quitting. I think he quit. Okay, so let's shift gears over to the COVID crisis that the mayor's handling of that. You know, he's closing everything until September.
Except Black Lives Matter.
Except
rallies.
Black Lives Matter.
Rallies or protests, whatever they call them, to get around the permit laws.
It's really extraordinary, isn't it? Because Black Lives Matter doesn't bring a whole bunch of money into the city, I don't think, do they? I mean, but when you have these street fairs, you know, you have people making a living off those. You have concerts.
They do damage. They
Big money.
cost the city money.
Exactly. Well, you know, I mean, what a beautiful mural we have, though, in front of Trump.
Yeah. That was repaired. When someone poured paint on it, it was repaired in less than 24 hours.
Yeah. Less than 2.5, 3 hours, I think. It was right away.
On all the statues and the buildings, they're spray painted. It's been up there for months.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the graffiti, the blight. We're seeing it all, and it's. So let's look at this really. Oh wait, we don't have the COVID video, do we? All right. Well, that's too bad. That's my fault. The basically what he says, the mayor, is that when we have something of the power, the importance of Black Lives Matter, that's something 400 years they've waited. But if you guys want to do your street fairs, no, it's not time for that. It's shocking to hear. You know, it's more than a double standard. I think it's time to recognize that our government's kind of hostile to the people, you know? And
well, these elected officials.
These particular elected officials
are terrible.
I'm not talking about Donald Trump here.
ISIS has spread like cancer. What a mess I inherited.
I am.
You know, Pat, my question in all of this is the silent majority. I believe that 8 million people here, 90% of them are good people. At some point in time, when do they get sick of this? Hey, I can't make my living. Hey, I can't have my street fair and make the money I expected. But, I can see all this going on in front of my penthouse or whatever.
Sure.
At what point are these people going to snap and say, enough is enough. We want our cops back and we want our city back.
We've seen it in some of the neighborhoods, you know, in some of the worst, in the poorer communities. They say, what's going on? We want the cops, you know, and this is a terrible idea. And, well, okay, yes, sir, you know. And you know how they are. They just
Well, any decent people would want police.
course.
That's, you're paying taxes for it.
Pat, you think about it, those 8 million people out there, they're going to be looking at this and seeing police officers being assaulted with impunity. And it doesn't take a rocket science to say, if they can do that to the police officer, what are they going to do to me?
You remember the last time me and Ralph were here? We talked about the buckets of water in New York City.
Yeah.
Yep.
We both sat here and said, this is the tip of the iceberg. If nothing is done, it's going to get worse. I hate to say we're right because I wanted to be wrong, but
Hey,
that's where we headed.
we knew it was going to escalate, you know, but I had no idea how insane it would get. We had officers assaulted on the Brooklyn Bridge, and I'm talking about the highest uniformed officer.
Yeah, Terrence Monahan.
Terrence Monahan. Shocking. How often does that happen? That
Never.
particular rank? Never.
Absolutely never.
Absolutely never. It's a real black eye, and the guy had a cane, and it was apparently a shipment of bats had come in for these protesters. Are you aware of that?
I didn't know about that one.
Yeah, they got surveillance video outside City Hall. Appears to show protesters receiving a small shipment of bats before anti-cop activists clashed with officers on the Brooklyn Bridge. Wednesday morning, the delivery was made by a car parked on the street near City Hall. One man seen retrieving 6 bats from the trunk. I'm sure they weren't playing.
Nothing surprises me
I
today.
don't think they were playing baseball up there.
And we saw it was the same with the loads of bricks everywhere. This is a very organized thing. If people don't get behind law enforcement quick and understand, there we are. Yeah, there they are getting the bats. How about that? You know, if they can find somebody, you know, they seem to be able to find people in the city. How come they can't find these guys?
They'll find them.
Yeah.
But they don't want to. it seems like they do it so much after the fact. You know, if you're at a riot and someone pulls up with a, they should, seize these bats, the car,
Right.
and those perpetrators.
Wow.
But the mayor's orders are to stand down on everything. Did you know about a reporter was whacked in the face with a 2x4?
Yes. Down at
Down by
the
City Hall.
Town. Yeah.
Right?
Where
And they knocked his camera and hit him in the face with a 2x4, and there were like 30 or 40 cops right there.
they never should have let that shit get out of hand like that anyways.
No, this is you got to nip it in the bud
Yeah.
to begin with. But they're allowing, I'm not allowing, not the police, but they're under orders.
That's,
They'll
that's
be
the key.
suspended.
Everybody's under orders.
Anytime I see a cop not doing something when they should, I know where it comes from.
Believe me,
it
the
comes
police,
from above.
right?
Yeah.
The police want to do their job.
Of course.
They're trained good. They got the technology. They got the ability. They want to do it. They have the want to do their jobs. They're being held back. They're being ordered to stand down, and they'll lose their job and their benefits if they go against these orders.
When this started, you used to worry about, I might get suspended. Then you worried about, I might get fired. We're up to now. I'm worrying about
Going to jail.
I'm going to get arrested. I mean, they're arresting guys left and right.
Yeah,
For doing their job, Atlanta, all over the place. So
the effect that must have for this guy being charged with capital murder down in Atlanta. I mean, like, you only need to see that once ago, because it doesn't matter if he doesn't get convicted. He's charged with murder. That's insane.
and that's this.
Yeah,
Nothing
ruins their
changes
life.
under De Blasio. Nothing in this city is going to change.
Oh no.
No, that's not true. It's getting worse.
Well, yeah, you're right. It might get worse.
change
Ralph.
it.
Yeah, Ralph, you are correct. I am wrong on that.
And it started from the beginning of De Blasio's term, his first term.
Yeah, and it just got
But
worse.
they waited for the right minute with this George Floyd thing.
Yeah.
All the anarchists, they seem to like get together. It's like an Antifa, BLM, all these things, and they sort of merged and got their foot in the door and ran with it.
Yeah.
And then at that moment they had the backing of certain politicians
Yeah.
and De Blasio.
Perfect timing. They have their emergency powers.
Exactly.
The authoritarian state that we have always dreaded is here. It's happening. We can't work. We can't go outside if we're told not to. We have to.
Can't
wear a
eat
mask.
inside.
Yeah, and no, can't even eat inside.
Can't go outside. Can't eat inside.
Summer's canceled. But watch these guys march around and what I don't understand is like we have BLM, right? They're going to protest all summer, I guess, through September. And the governor's on their side, the mayor's on their side, the AGs are on their side, the judges are on their side, the media's on their side.
DAs.
Yeah. So what exactly are these guys protesting?
They don't even know anymore.
They're the toast of New York. I mean,
It's really going to kill tourism. They're going to wipe it out.
you know what?
I think it's pretty much
I
wiped
don't
out
recommend
already.
you travel here.
I didn't want to come here. I got a gun. I was nervous. I've never been nervous coming to New York City my entire life.
Well, I'm sure you'll be fine, but
You,
you'll know where to go, and you can take care of yourself. And really, it's not even the danger, but what is there to do? If you
Everything's
It's right.
closed.
That's right. Everything's
there were no
closed.
people walking down the street. It was like watching one of those movies, The End of the Earth. I mean, there was
I know the
nobody
movie you
out
talk
there.
about, Escape from New York.
Yep.
Snake Plissken. We ever get
They're
out
all
of town?
coming to Connecticut.
yeah, that 8 million might become 7 million, because that's the way it was from 70 to 80. I understand.
New
like
York
900,000
survived
people.
on tourism. That's where all the money comes in.
Yeah.
And now De Blasio's painting murals in front of Trump's building
Yeah.
and asking Trump on the other side of his face. He's asking Trump for $9 billion. Otherwise,
We can't even reopen without it.
he's talking in October of laying off 22,000 city employees. And then, of course, he cut the police budget by $1 billion.
This guy can't even keep the trains running 24 hours a day. That hasn't happened in 150 years that they've shut
A
down.
lot of things have been happening in the last, say, 60 days that haven't happened ever.
I need
Every
to know.
day you wake up, you don't know what's going to be.
You guys know about the law because you're law enforcement guys. I'm talking to Ralph Friedman here, and to John Krapinski, and to Jim Bladner. And I appreciate you guys being here. I really do.
pleasure.
You guys know more. You guys have forgotten more than most of us will ever know when it comes to getting stuff done. Now, here's the question: how long do emergency powers last? The emergency's over. We have the governor and the mayor, and all across the country, we're sort of like under the control of these, lower level. Not lower level. Governor's a big deal, but mayors everywhere and stuff like that. How long does this last?
It's hard to say. It's
So the governor says they're not. under.
Well, a lot of people in
got
states
to
are
renege.
rebelling. They're opening restaurants. They're opening gyms. How much could the government? We realize that there's an emergency at a certain point, but like you say, it can't go on forever. I mean, people are going to be wiped out. I'd say like about 70% of restaurants, small businesses are not going to be able to recoup from this. They didn't even get the bill yet for the rents. Sometime in August, the rents are going to be due, and they're going to be like 4, 5, 6 months behind.
Tragedy.
You know what this makes me think of is like a serial killer that strangles someone and lets them come back to consciousness and does it over and over again. That's what they're doing to this
choking
country.
the city. They're
choking the city. I mean, how many times can you do this before it's not going to come back? I don't know.
Some of these things they don't even know are legal. They're being challenged in courts all over the country on every level.
It has to be unconstitutional. It has to be.
How could you tell someone they can't earn an honest living? They're paying rent, and you can't have someone come in your establishment to spend money?
Let's be honest, Pat. The day after the presidential election is over, there'll be no more pandemic anyway.
That's for sure.
I would hope so. I would hope that Trump would declare an end to it. However, if they hamper him at every move. And what happened after the last election? They just came at him twice as hard. Yep. It was like a swarm. I don't. And plus, I think that Ruth Bader Ginsburg has been dead for since 2018, and I think that they're going to play her fake death now for
And be
the
like,
election, right?
Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah. She's like thinking, oh my God, she has an infection. Now she's dead, and now that appointment kind of comes into the election, and that'll motivate some people. But
they're dying if Trump gets to put another Supreme Court justice in.
Well, you want to make sure and get your Ruth Bader Ginsburg Memorial tea. That's right. From 1935 or something until recently. You can read the dates. That's a very sporty-looking shirt. It comes in a few different colors. I think black, white, black and white, and that gold right there. My goodness, wouldn't you be proud to wear that shirt? Yes, March 15th, 1933 until recently. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and you will be sure and be the first to have one besides me. Now, that's available at the website crimereport.nyc. There's a ton of shirts there. Just, go and click on where it says store. Now, the media doesn't ask any tough follow-up questions. Have you noticed that? When the mayor explained about how BLM, they're doing really important stuff. I mean, it really matters. This is a historic moment. How did it turn into historic change? It should have been charge the officer if you want that, or bring down the deaths so that we're not, clogging up the hospitals. With COVID and with George Floyd, they both got out of hand and turned into this big, we're going to change everything, historic change. You kind of get the idea that there's an agenda in place.
Well, there's definitely an agenda. How come they don't care about these children that are getting shot? Black children, 1 year old.
Yeah.
They don't care about the people in Chicago getting shot every weekend, every day. No one protests. You don't hear nothing from the politicians on these children getting shot and killed.
No, and AOC, really has nerve bringing up getting bread for your child by shoplifting bread.
That's what she equated the looting to.
Yeah.
And Cuomo said, as far as destroying statues, he came and said, it's a healthy expression.
We made eye contact, Drew, on that. It's a healthy expression.
I thought that's because you wanted to fuck me like last time.
Please. There's law enforcement present, Drew.
I thought that was better, right?
We're not watching here.
Cuomo says things that are unbelievable, considering he has, by every metric, the worst record on COVID in the whole United States. The state of New York has 25% of all the deaths. He killed a bunch of old people
sent them to the nursing homes when they got out of the hospital.
When we had a hospital that was built, and then also down at Javits, and also the ship.
And the Central Park has them.
Central Park, and he still has more people dying every week than Florida. And he's talking about now it's turned around. Florida. Now they're the ones. It's like, no, you're wrong. And the mask thing, he says, it's a slap in the face to these doctors and nurses if you don't wear a mask. So we're all going to change Western civilization, what we've done for the entire time we're here, just to appease the doctors and nurses. I love doctors and nurses, but there's a limit. You know what I mean? I'm not a believer in masks, and I think that that's a way of staying within one step of shutting down businesses. When you get the government in business, it's not a good
control.
idea. Yeah, it's control.
That's what it is.
Simon says, Simon says, do this. Simon says, take it off. Simon says, take it on. Simon says,
Well,
take
they
it
come
off.
out tomorrow and say
come
it's
out
gone
today.
and
No, go back
no
in.
mask.
Yeah. I'm praying for the day when they say no mask. I just don't think it's ever going to happen, though.
November 4th.
Go out and vote, everybody. Go cast your vote, unless you're going to vote stupid, and then don't. Biden has gotten to avoid the press quite a bit, but every time he speaks, it's a bit of a mishap. And it is a little entertaining. I do like it. Now, NYPD is hunting the protester who beat the chief of department and 3 other officers with a cane during that violent brawl. And there's video of this guy. It shouldn't be too tough. 4 officers were injured. The highest-ranking uniformed cop. That was just luck. You know what I mean? It's not like the guy knew that, right?
Well, he does wear a white shirt.
Oh.
So he's separated from the officers. Sergeants and above, I think it's sergeants and above, they wear a white shirt. So he knew he was hitting a boss.
Yeah.
And this guy has stars on his shirt. I don't know if it was a male or female. Was it a female that hit him?
There's video at the link. Can we look
I
at
think
the
my
link?
wife told me today she heard that it was a female. And
it very well may be a female. That looks like a female.
I think they grabbed her today. I think
I
they
wouldn't
got her
hit it.
today.
Look at this footage. It looks like a friggin' Starburst commercial. That's odd, isn't it? It's very odd. Okay, well,
I think they went to hit the white shirt just for significance.
because that's a paramilitary kind of
trophy.
group. They know what they're doing.
They know it's a boss.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Well, they have this video. I hope they find him. And what about the guy getting the officer in a headlock in the Bronx during trying to ticket the guy for being in front of a hydrant?
They didn't even want to ticket him in the beginning. They just asked him to move.
Yeah.
It escalated.
We see
Because
this
of the
time
people
and
that
time
talk
again.
back to police. They don't respect the
How many
police.
times do we tell somebody, buddy, just leave? I don't want to lock you up, and you don't want to get locked up. Go. But they don't go, and they don't want to leave until they're in the back of the cruiser.
That's because
and you're
they're
saying,
emboldened.
hey,
Right.
I just wanted you to leave, pal.
Too late.
Oh, well, I don't like this now. Well, yeah, now you're going
That's
to the
too late.
station.
Yeah.
This is time and time again. And these are the same people that show up on Monday to make a complaint. And I'm like, all they had to do was leave.
Why do they want to complicate everybody's life that way? It's a simple thing.
Because this is the thing to do now. Everybody wants their 15 minutes of TikTok to say, look at me talking back to the cop. Look how tough I am. This is what everybody wants now. And this is the result of our politicians pandering.
It's a very short-sighted way to live. That's for sure. And it's a very it's unscrupulous, and it's no
You
good.
know what's funny about the whole thing is they all want to defund the police, abolish police, do this. But when they get hit, the first people they call is the cop.
Of course.
Right?
Can't wait.
They're the fastest ones to call when they get hit.
Yeah.
I love the video. It's in New York City. It's on YouTube. It shows the store owner coming. They're all out in front chanting and yelling. The store owner comes out with a chainsaw, cranks it up.
I saw that.
First of all,
That was in Texas.
you know what? You come out with a gun. They're like, you ain't going to shoot. You come out with waving a chainsaw around. I'll be honest with you. I don't think I'd want to be involved in that. And everybody immediately starts screaming, call
Call the
911.
police.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Get the cops here. Well, because it has nothing to
I mean,
do
the
with
people
actually.
you abolished,
Yeah.
call them.
Call 911. You're protesting because you don't want 911.
Yeah, but they do. They want help. It has nothing to do with any of that. It's all a fantasy and it's all
Yep.
theoretical until
Well, it's actually in place.
a chainsaw is an excellent thing to chase people.
I was impressed. Got room on that belt for those?
Yeah, I wonder what the legality is on that. Can you carry that with you, like a? What is the law on what do you call those things? The machete. I keep hearing it's legal to carry a machete in New York.
As far as I know, if it's not used as a weapon,
Yeah, then it's
then it's okay.
Yeah.
It
It's
could
not
be
in
for your
Connecticut.
job. And different states and cities have different
you know.
laws.
Connecticut, 4 inches. That's all you can have.
that's all you can have in Connecticut.
Yep, he's okay. 4 inches is of a sharpened edge blade.
Yeah.
It'd be 2 inches if it's a dual-sided blade because they do the whole cutting edge.
Oh, okay.
So
It's
4
the-
inches is the
4
max
inches
in
of cutting
Connecticut.
edge.
So anything on that you wouldn't be able to have.
You know what you need is a cutting edge when you are decapitating a body. That's for sure. They found one, a tech CEO down and the Lower East Side apartment, in his own apartment. He's on the 7th floor. It was the whole pin. It was the whole thing. This is how rich this guy was. He was very well known. He was known as the Elon Musk of his country, wherever it was. And he was stored in plastic bags, arms and legs cut off. It looked as if the guy got interrupted while he was cutting this guy up. An electric saw was found near the body.
He did get interrupted.
Yeah.
I think his sister went there to do a well check because she couldn't reach him.
Yeah.
She walked in, found the body. She called the police. But from what the police said so far from their investigation was that somebody left. They were going to put him in bags or a suitcase and take him out.
Yeah, why would you bag him up?
And they had
remove him?
cleaners near the body where they were going to clean the crime scene. It looked like it would never happen.
Very pro job. It's a mystery, you know. Saleh, it's Fahim Saleh, this guy's name, venture capitalist, CEO of.
I think he was from Bangladesh.
And it says he's a CEO of the Nigeria-based motorbike startup Gokada.
Yeah, I think he was going to rent these bikes out.
Yeah.
He had. He was a tech guy also. He became a millionaire, very wealthy, very young.
Yeah. The apartment he purchased for $2.25 million. This guy was doing very, very well. It's a shame. This is ugly, one cop said at the scene. And they describe it as a targeted murder. The victim last seen on surveillance footage around 1:40 p.m. Monday when he entered the elevator, goes right to the 7th floor apartment. The footage from the apartment building appears to show the suspected killer carrying a bag, waiting to enter the elevator with the victim. And, you know, at some point he had to know.
he stun gunned him and then stabbed him.
Well,
and they found a power saw next to the body. They think it was a bad business deal or something.
you know, there seemed to be there's a little video here showing this just a woman who apparently found him. I think you said sister. I thought it was his cousin. It's a relative.
I thought it said sister from what I read.
Maybe. I'm looking now to see, but she found him, and you know what? They seem to be. I don't know. I mean, I can never tell, but like, I don't think she's a suspect. They haven't said anything like
not
that.
at all. Not at all that I heard.
But they said she seemed really nervous. Her leg was bouncing around, and stuff like that.
If you find a relative or your brother like that, I guess.
Right, but strange detail to mention, I thought, in the paper. But what do I know?
That's the press, too.
It says, police came upon the grisly scene after a cousin of the dead man requested the welfare check. I have a cousin of the dead man, but then that's not who found him, though, because the wellness check.
Well, I heard it was a sister.
It must have been.
I guess different news outlets put different things.
Okay, here it is. It says the victim's cousin found a torso. It was
That must be from CNN.
I think I saw it on Channel 5 or something.
Yeah, I mean,
I did hear sister.
it'll all come out in the wash, but
Somebody found him.
Yeah, he was
Female.
So he was definitely found. There's no question about it. She was really upset, crying, shaking. She was like sitting there, but you can tell her legs were shaking. She's nervous. She was crying. He says, like. Wiping her eyes. I don't know. That's a weird description of somebody. I don't know. I know zero. We're going to take a quick break and look at this a little bit of animation, 40 seconds or so. It'd still be enjoyable for you. We just have to catch our breath. Yeah, the other day the wife goes around the corner to get a pack of something. I don't know. She walks past, what's the name of that? It's like a sort of a high-end kind of a furniture place or something like that. And there's a guy crouched against the wall, completely naked. And I don't have to tell you what he was doing to himself. Now, and she said he was a great big guy. My wife is 6'2". She doesn't describe people as big guys unless they're, pretty big guys. So now we have big gentlemen naked, masturbating in public. And I guess that sort of thing at this point is a 311 call.
Bob is Bernie Carrick.
You think so? Well,
Giuliani again.
We were just having a little conversation. Like, what's it going to take, John, to unfuck this city?
Listen, we have to do it the same way we did it the last time. The last time the city was exactly like this now with crime and law and disorder. They brought in Rudy Giuliani. Rudy Giuliani fixed the city. The only guy I see that's able to unfuck this city the way it is right now Bernie Kerik has got to run for mayor, get elected, and I guarantee you he'll return this city to the state it should be in.
I would vote for Bernie Kerik in an instant.
Me too.
And I certainly hope he does, run. Do you think that New York City has had enough? Do you think they're ready to like start cleaning it up?
Well, we still got a little while more with de Blasio.
Another year and a half.
By the time he destroys this place, I think by the next election, people will have had enough when they can't leave their houses, not because of the pandemic, because they can't step out because of crime. And when that happens, they're going to demand that the next mayor that takes over is a law and order guy that's going to straighten this out. I don't see anybody else doing that but Bernie Kerik.
How about, and just, I don't know, devil's advocate, but what about Curtis Sliwa? Is he... No.
Nice guy, but I will say I give the guy credit. He's been out there doing some stuff that, protecting some people and protecting some stores.
Yeah.
But listen, that's a little above his pay grade.
Yeah.
He's untrained. He's more of a showboat. I had some run-ins with him when he first started out, back in like the mid-'70s.
Yeah.
Back in the transit.
And he was doing the transit thing.
Yeah, a guardian angel.
And I was on his show a year ago, about a year ago, I was on his show.
Yeah.
And they asked me to come on his show. And I said, I really don't agree with stuff that Sliwa does and his group. And I had some run-ins with him early. So the producer says, oh, he'll love controversy. You should come on. You should come on. So I went on, but we had some words, and the show was okay. I got my point across.
I'm sure he did.
But he even said, I think you beat me up back in the '70s. I said, I don't know. I beat up a lot of people in it a while ago. But no, I don't think Slee was right for the job. Bernie Kerik would be perfect. He was the police commissioner of New York City.
That's right.
He was a cop. He's a law and order guy. And he was a good police commissioner.
He would have my 100% confidence, and I hope that they've had enough after.
I hope there's something left for him to clean up in a year and a half. That's a long time.
Be a big job, job.
But it's not only de Blasio. We can't give him all the credit for wrecking the city. You also got the city council.
Oh yeah.
You got borough presidents. You got other things in place here that weren't factors back then. Back then, the politicians and the police bosses wanted you to go out and make arrests. They wanted law and order. Like I said before, the police are fighting on two fronts here.
Yeah.
You got a lot of politicians. There's a lot of people that go with de Blasio or think like him, or even worse. But the city council is absolutely no bargain either.
Every bureaucrat and every, like all of them, every borough president, every DA, they're all cut from the same cloth. They're all trying to do the same.
It's not only changing one person.
No.
But it'd be a good start.
It does come from the top.
It's a good start.
Yeah.
But it's not the only resistance we have.
Something else that happened today, I'm not sure you're aware of, but the New York State Police union boss said he wants to pull all of his troopers out of New York City because of the rules.
That was yesterday.
They're expecting the New York State Police to operate under the rules that the NYPD is. And they're a little different animal. They said, we don't do that. And I guess they were told, you're going to operate under those rules here. So their union president said, let's pull all of our troopers out of New York City.
I'm sure
this was said yesterday.
Was thrilled.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's happy.
Yeah. There's less law enforcement around. And we're safer for it, I'm sure. What a jerk. We have a detective, retired homicide detective on the line from Fontana, California. A good friend, Ray Schneiders. Hey, Ray.
Hey, Pat, how are you? I was just looking at your panel, and I feel like I'm at a law enforcement Hall of Fame ceremony. You have me included in an elite group, my friend. I appreciate it.
Well, absolutely,
Thank you, Ray.
Man. Very happy to have you. And look, I mean, you're right about that. I'm lucky to have a panel like this, and to have you as well. Ray, did you have anything that you wanted to bring up in particular, or did you have a question here of these particular guys, since we have them all together?
Oh, sure. Of course, I'm from California, so our law enforcement structure as far as chain of command, when it goes up to, through the police admin through to mayor. For instance, in Los Angeles, the mayor's position, even though everybody knows he's a Democrat and a socialist communist too, his position is nonpartisan. You do not run for mayor in the city of Los Angeles either as a Democrat or a Republican. And by the charter, the mayor does not have the power to tell the Los Angeles police chief what to do. And I'm curious, what is it in New York? Does de Blasio really have the power to tell the chief of NYPD what he can and can't do?
I believe he does, but I'll let Ralph answer.
Well, you're right. First of all, law enforcement shouldn't be ran by politicians. It's supposed to be ran by police commanders. And in New York City, the police commissioner is a civilian, but he's they say, a puppet of the mayor. He's hired by the mayor. So the mayor, behind closed doors, tells the police commissioner how to run his department. And, the commissioner is supposed to run it on his own, but if he goes against the mayor, he could be fired at any minute. It's an appointed position.
And it's happened before.
It's happened before, and it's not civil service. He's not protected. The police commissioner is, at the mercy of the mayor.
Yeah, and that's a shame, isn't it?
It's a shame because it should be police departments should be ran by police commanders who are in the field, who have the experience, the knowledge, the background, and they know what they're doing when they're dealing with criminals and protesters and stuff like that.
And then you have the police becoming like a tool of the mayor's popularity and
You remember Bill Bratton? I mean, he was a pretty good commissioner. He was a great commissioner up in Boston. He came down here, started playing a little political game, and when he decided to stop playing it, Bill had to leave.
Yeah.
So they will do that. Yeah, the mayor, he's in charge.
To me, this raises a larger issue, not just locally, but nationally. We've heard a lot in the past several months about nobody being above the law.
Yeah.
And I think that includes the chief executive officers of all these states and municipalities who are the chief law enforcement officers as well. Do they have that kind of discretion to say, oh, this is no longer a crime? You can block a highway, you can block a bridge. I mean, where does it stop? Does it say, well, now robbery, murder, it's not a crime because they're telling you not to do it? I mean, it raises a pretty big issue. I mean, what point do we say, enough, this is bullshit?
Well, yeah, and pulling down statues, and all the people that got arrested were just let go. There were, the arrest.
Even after the police arrested them, the DAs didn't prosecute.
That's another bigger problem.
And how do you tell a police officer who's witnessing a felony not to take an action? How do you tell them to stand down? And then when they do take an action, the DA throws it out, doesn't even entertain it.
I don't even know. I wouldn't be able to make the first right decision as a police officer.
They don't know which way to turn. The leadership is blowing in the wind.
Hey, Ray, in California, how bad has it gotten out there? I mean, are you seeing a lot of cops being prosecuted and things like that? I mean, is it are they enacting a lot of these similar type laws?
Oh yeah, it's New York City 2.0 out here, and of course, there's an officer who's being suspended now simply because he referred to Black Lives Matter BLM as burn, loot, murder. So just for
it's so much more accurate.
Oh, it's absolutely accurate.
Wow.
But for a post on Facebook, he's going to have to look for another position.
Now,
but one thing I wanted to point out here in California is I'm curious about the East Coast when it comes to your police union and the amount of power that you're able to yield. I'm a former union president myself, and what we've found is that the best, most effective way to have a voice with your union and combat these administrative forces that be is to have a union head, your entire union board, be made up of retired members of law enforcement and not current ones, because if they're current ones, they're going to make their lives miserable and ultimately find something they could fire them for. And I think the efficacy of a police union would be far more superior with retirees. And I was wondering what your guys thought.
Well, Ray, you're totally right about that. That was something that almost occurred recently, because we have two good leaders in the union right now. Pat Lynch is very good for the Patrolmen's Benevolent Association, and Ed Mullins of the Sergeants Benevolent Association is fantastic. But de Blasio, he went after Ed Mullins, but Ed Mullins is still doing his thing, but they are trying to hold something over his head. They were looking at petty stuff and trying to intimidate him because he's very vocal against the mayor.
Yeah, he's very plain spoken. He's always right on, Ed Mullins.
He's Always. And Pat Lynch is good too, but they went after Ed Mullins is a little more outspoken than Pat Lynch.
Pat Lynch is just louder.
Pat Lynch is good though. I know him personally.
Loud! You're starting to see some of that now, exactly what you're saying, and you're 100% right. I'm the Connecticut State Fraternal Order Police President. I'm certainly not a shy guy, but I'm also an active police officer. So there are some things we at the FOP, for our unions in handling our union business, we have in Connecticut a 40-year Boston detective who's retired, who's my guy that handles all of our labor stuff. And I can send him out there and he can say anything he wants. Jack Parlan is not a shy guy, and he is very vocal, and he doesn't have to worry about being fired or disciplined. So actually what you're saying is I think you're going to see more of this in the future. I think you're on to something there, and we've seen it work in Connecticut. So I think in the future that may be the way to go. Retirees, these guys can say things tonight that I can't say. So there's a heavy value in retirees.
Yeah. Well, there's very little they can do to you, right?
Well, once you're gone, they can't touch you. And I was in the Connecticut State Police. I was a union steward and vice president back in the late 70s, early 80s, and involved in some of our labor disputes. And I was pretty fortunate. There was some pressure applied, but I understand exactly what that officer's talking about. And that is a very good idea in my mind. It relieves you.
Good point, Ray.
Knocked it out of the park, Ray. Hey, I'll look forward to talking to you soon about other stuff. And, love to the family out there in Fontana. Hope everything's well.
Oh, great. Thanks, Pat, and to the panel. You guys are amazing. Pleasure to be with
brother.
you.
Enjoy.
Thank you
very much.
A privilege to have you, and a privilege to have you guys, too. I've never been in any form of... I wasn't even in the fucking Boy Scouts, So going out in a uniform and to do law enforcement is, like you said, it's always been...
It's always been a tough, dangerous job.
And that was when you had anybody on your side, and now it's just... it seems as if they're really gunning for you guys. What can anybody do? Is there anything that, we, just like regular people, can do?
Vote for the right people to get in office to support the police. They're supporting themselves by doing that. The police protect you. They put their lives on the line. They take a bullet for a stranger.
And that's not rhetoric.
It's just crazy.
What we do.
You're knocking and attacking the people that are protecting you.
Yeah.
I've never heard of this.
That's something that people in Connecticut can do. On July 23rd, our Connecticut state legislators are going to vote on this new anti-police bill. It's similar to what's going on down here, although I'll say no one is worse than New York City. We are not at that level, but it's a very bad bill.
Yeah.
It's going to take our equipment away, make it tougher to defend ourselves. I would ask that anybody in Connecticut who's listening to your show, please reach out. Contact your state legislators, your senators, your representatives. Just send them an email, give them a phone call, and say, hey, we support the police. Please vote no.
Doesn't have to be a big, long thing. Just let them know how you feel.
That's all. The more good people that call in, listen, politicians, they work on, did I get 10 calls for yes or 20 calls for no? That's their life.
Yeah, as it should be. If they're the representative of the people and stuff. So please make your voice heard. Anybody listening, do it. Because law enforcement is the only thing standing between us and all those, loonies out there doing all their crazy shit. I think we all have the point about Black Lives Matter. It's only 3 words.
Terrorist organization. They don't care about black lives.
They do not. They do not.
It's just a title they're using to get their foot in the door. They're anarchists. They're criminals.
They know the nervy thing to pick on.
You know what's really sad, and I see this. Nothing is worse than for any law enforcement officer, and you can ask these guys, nothing is worse than seeing a child death, no matter how it occurs.
Yes, yeah.
And to see these children out in Chicago being killed on a daily basis, and now it's starting here, that eats at us when we go to those calls. And I'll tell you this, no one ever asks what color somebody is when it's a child. When it's a child, we work twice as hard on that case than any other case that we'll have. These are the guys working 3 hours after their shift is over, making calls on a Sunday, because nothing is worse for us than a child being killed. we're trying to do something, and we're the guys being villainized right now.
Well, and don't let anybody tell you either that it's gun violence, because it's not. It's somebody pulling a trigger.
Person violence.
Yeah, it's criminal violence. You know, it has nothing to do with how many guns are out there. No matter what the mayor says, you know, like we have so many guns. That was his response to the 1-year-old who got killed. We have so many guns floating around. I don't think that there's any more now than there were, you know, back before in January or whatever. But all this stuff happened. Yeah, it's and thanks for adding that, you know, because people don't realize what kind of things that you guys see, you know, up close and personal.
I got to tell you, John, you know, you just hit on something that just hit really close to home for me. When I was in major crime, the one thing that I had a hard time dealing with to this day is things involving children. You know, because let's face it, adults a lot of times are complicit in some of the stuff they do. You know, you got a beef, somebody's fighting, somebody provokes.
I had it coming.
You know,
right?
but kids are innocent. Kids are innocent, and to this day, there's some cases I had involving children that still get choked up about it. I still don't want to talk about them, and that's 30 years later.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know that child in New York City, the little 1-year-old. That was the front page of the paper, the cutest little guy that I've ever seen, and he didn't deserve to die.
No, absolutely not.
Where is everybody else? Where are all these people at all of these protests standing up for this child right now?
Nobody.
It's
Nobody.
us, the police doing it again.
I mean, George Floyd, whatever, you know, look, nobody's standing behind what happened or anything like that. Absolutely not. But the man was a garbage can. He had fentanyl and morphine and everything like that. That baby never got to even have applesauce. You know what I mean? It was just a 1-year-old kid.
Didn't deserve it.
Yeah, it's
You know, I just want to say something about the
that might
guns.
be the dumbest thing I've ever said.
Guns, Pat.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, Pat Brosnan, a retired, decorated New York City police officer,
sir.
wrote an op-ed page yesterday. I think it was in the Post. And he wrote about the guns. There was just as many guns in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. The thing is, they're in people's drawers. They're in the attics. They're in glove compartments. But now these people are being empowered, emboldened to carry them.
Yeah.
And the shootings are up. The guns were always there. There's always millions and millions of guns out there. He wrote a great op-ed page.
Didn't it bum you out when Bloomberg apologized for saving 10,000 lives?
Oh my
in stop and
God!
frisk?
The typical pandering
You
politics.
save lives by stop and frisk.
Exactly, 10,000.
That's
of
how
them.
you save lives.
Exactly.
The worst thing that ever happened was taking the New York City Street Crimes Unit away.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that unit is looked at by cops worldwide as, ooh, they're the man. Those guys are out there. They're in gunfight. They're taking those guns away. When you stop people taking guns away from criminals, this is the result that you get.
And just like that, too.
And
The next
believe me,
day,
it's
they
going to
knew they
get
could
worse.
carry him.
Have you seen this Baton Rouge story? Can we look at the Baton Rouge story? Now, this I don't even understand. They're investigating this cop in Baton Rouge over this. You'll see it. Remarkable. Knee in the back.
How do you
I
expect
don't even
this?
see it. It's half a second. First of all, a knee in the back, but they can't do that here now either. They can't.
No, not in New York City.
No.
Back, front, neck. Knee, or, you know, you can't put your knee or your elbow on the neck, front or back of neck, your back, your rib cage, your chest. It's like we said before.
How do you
make an
How do
arrest?
you handcuff a guy? Because no
Guys
one's
that
told
you're-
me yet.
And the guys that you're fighting, they'll do all that stuff.
They get to do
have
that. They
no
get to
limits.
choke you. They get to put you in headlocks.
They're already going to jail. What are they worried about?
Yep.
They're not going to jail. Every time there's an incident now where a police officer does that, they drop the charges on the guy who committed the crime, and they look to get the cop. That's what's going on.
So
it's
what
getting
you're
worse
having
by
is-
the day.
It's crazy.
The end result of this is a guy saying, I ain't going with you. And a cop saying, you know what? Do I want to lose my house, my family, and 10 years in jail? You know what? Have a good day,
I
bro.
wonder if Dan Pantaleo would have taken down Eric Garner so professionally and perfectly if he had
Perfectly.
to do over. I don't know that he would.
You walk away.
Let him sell his cigarettes. Okay, let's look at this Baton Rouge video. I'm not seeing anywhere where this goes wrong at all. Is there a full screen we can do? There we go. Ooh,
Technical wizards here.
yeah, so we have. I think that's you, Ralph, holding the gun on the guy.
No, my tattoos are different.
Yeah. This in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, you would have thought a last bastion of some sort of conservative. Now watch this knee. That's not. It doesn't even look uncomfortable.
Well, I think the knee, if he did put the knee on him, even though it was quick, You do that in the case where, in case the guy changes his mind about being arrested, and you're up close now, you could grab your weapon. It takes a second. You're not going to compress anything or stop his breathing, but you want to make sure he can't move. Tactical move, a good move, so the guy doesn't grab your gun when you put the cuff on.
Yeah.
We've been trained for 25 years that this is how you bring the arm straight up, you gooseneck it, you kneel down. We're not trying to cut off anybody's air supply or anything. You're holding that arm in place to put a cuff on, grab the other arm. And again, this is my complaint. Everyone is saying we can't do this anymore. I'm the guy asking, okay, how do you want to retrain these officers? They've supplied no retraining. They haven't even give us direction. Somebody tell us what you want us to do.
Yeah.
But nobody's done it yet. And guys are going to revert to what they've been trained for 20 years of it.
Well, yeah, because you're trying to stay alive.
Yeah, you're fighting. That's how you would, and you were trained that way. Besides that,
Yeah, so it's built in.
besides survival mode, you're trained now. That's exactly why the president of the New York State Troopers want to pull his men out of New York City.
Because that's what they're going to do.
He said, my guys are trained to react this way. This is their training. This is what protects them. This is how you make an arrest. This is how you survive. And he doesn't want to put his officers in the position where they're going to be arrested for doing what they're trained to do.
Yeah, arrested, charged. I mean,
It's crazy.
sued.
It occurs to me, and I've been retired a while now, but as I recall, there's a continuum of force that you use in respect to subduing an individual. And you've just now removed that intermediate area there. So what are you going to do when somebody's confronting like that? If you can't use proved techniques have been going, you're really left the choice. You say that's it, or you have to ratchet up to a level that you never intended to use to begin with. And where does that lead us to? So,
yeah, it's no better. It's certainly
No,
not.
my
Well, it's
training
worse.
I
was
see.
A level one of force has been control and restraint. Either grabbing an arm. These are things that they don't want us to do, kneeling down, putting it back. So now if you take all level 1 and level 2 away, because our first use of force is telling somebody to do something, and that's out the door now. Now you're going to move guys up into tasers, batons, and other things.
Yeah.
That's all they have left.
Firearms.
More people are going to get hurt this way than being able to control them the other way.
Well, and that's, in the end, they're trying to destroy everything. I wouldn't doubt that they probably want that. There was no reason to shoot him. You know, like the guy who shot the taser at him down in Atlanta is the perfect case for this, you know. And this is exactly what you guys are saying. The mayor said, you know, there's a distinction between what you can do and what you should do. How are you supposed to know what she thinks you should do? And he's going to be charged for murder based on that.
They want to change our use of force in Connecticut to what's reasonable. Well, what's reasonable to me is not what's reasonable to those people that are going to be voting on
See,
it.
that just leaves you open.
What's reasonable mean?
Yeah, it's very much like on YouTube. You know, you violated community standards. What was it? Well, you know,
We don't have any standards.
I don't know. We won't tell you. It's it puts you guys in a terrible position. Law enforcement. I'm trying to tell everybody this. I tell people all the time, don't I? Am I not always talking about this?
All the time.
Oh, we got a call. Let's take this call. Would you guys mind?
Sure.
taking a call real quick. Okay. Hello there. Who's calling? Hello. Nice to hear from you.
Hi, Pat. This is John from Indiana.
Hey, what's happening, John? Nice to hear from you.
Just woke up to call in for you.
Wow. Thanks for setting an alarm. You know, I know you, and you did some. You worked in corrections.
Yeah, I was a street cop for about a decade, and I also worked for the Federal Bureau of Prisons here in Indiana at the USP Terre Haute, where the federal death row is.
Yes, and I believe you told me that you actually, the guy that they just, the first federal execution in a long, long time, you actually had met that guy, walked him around a little bit or something like that?
Yeah, occasionally I would, the short time I was at the BOP, I did a lot of floating around to different units covering other people's shifts. So yeah, when I was at the SCU, the Secure Confinement Unit, which is what the death row is called,
Yeah.
I would have to escort them from cell to rec or cell to the library or visitation.
Right. That's a dangerous thing, too, needless to say.
Yeah. Well, actually, the death row is probably probably the safest place because you're actually cuffing them up and, taking them from place to place with 2 officers escorting them. Whereas the rest of the compound is thousands of inmates just walking freely.
We have a panel here, Jay. We have, as you know, Ralph Friedman, John Krapinski, Jim Bladner, who I just met, and these guys know everything there is to know about law enforcement and
sounds like it,
and not getting killed and surviving. Do you have anything you wanted to ask before we hop off?
No, not at all. I don't think there's anything I can ask that you guys haven't already covered. It sounds like you guys are really hammering out.
We did cover a lot of ground.
They've really said it. They've said it best from what I've been listening to the last several minutes.
All right, man. Well, thanks for the call. And I'm sorry. Go ahead.
If they kill somebody on death row, is that still a crime?
Wow.
Not according to William Barr.
Well, you know what? Something's got to happen. I mean, we're definitely at 2 extremes. Thanks again for the call. I'll talk to you later, buddy. You guys, I want to make sure that everybody knows where to get, first of all, Street Warrior, the book, your book, which a lifetime in the making, right? And a career between two covers.
A 14-year career.
Yeah. In the most difficult time to enforce the law, I would say, 70s, 80s.
At least we had backing.
Yeah.
We were told to go out and get the bad guys off the street, protect the citizens at all costs, and if you have to fight or shoot it out with somebody, you win. You're the police. You deal with violence with more violence.
I seem to remember you told me you got hit in the head with a crowbar.
Yeah, I had my head fractured 2 times, my hand broken 3 times.
My God.
Last incident, I broke 23 bones.
Yeah.
I broke about 40 bones before that, toes and fingers and ribs. And
do you think you broke more of your own bones or other people's?
That's hard to say.
You can say, Ralph, you're retired, bro.
I broke more bones.
And what's your real number
other people
on kills? All confirmed.
I was in 15 shooting incidents where I shot 8 guys. I had 4 of them died as a result. But all those times, it was always the criminal's choice.
Yes.
Like today, with any police that people resist arrest, it's the criminal's choice. The cop don't have the choice.
Yeah.
The criminal decides if he's going to run or fight or try to stab or shoot the cop or disarm him or try to injure him or maim him or kill him. The officer responds to that. But you have to respond with overwhelming force to stop that threat of someone who's going to hurt or kill you or your partner or another civilian. But you have to win. Yeah, if you just surrender. Look, you broke the law. The courts will go easier on you than I would.
What's going to happen to you there?
Yeah, it's going to be a rough night if you.
But we got back then. We were backed up, and we were told to do the job, and the people appreciated it. That's the problem today. These officers, like I say on every time I'm on your show or any show I go on, New York City, and when I say New York City, I mean every town and city and state, that they're lucky to have men and women that want to do this job and put their bodies and lives in the line of duty.
And
in the face of injury.
Now, trouble hiring people right now.
Really,
and the retirement is up.
In this sentiment.
100%.
We got guys that don't even have their time in saying, I'm thinking about taking or early retirement, or some guys just quitting outright.
Buyouts, things like that.
Yeah, well, even if they don't get the money, they're just, hey, I'm young enough, I can go get another job.
Career.
That's what we've come to when this was a great profession.
Yeah, it is a shame that you can't even get the support to keep going, do it, because this is something you love to do. I mean, this is a calling. It's not something you do.
It's something. It's an adventure. It's something that you have inside you, and you feel good about protecting people.
Nobody takes this job to be a millionaire. We all know we could have made more money in other fields, but now we can't even do the job we wanted to do.
I wish I made the money you guys did.
But it hurts real cops to see crimes occur that they can't take an action, or seeing people assaulted and, they know they should protect those people. It hurts the police.
It's true. And more cops aren't, suicide has become unfortunately common, among cops. It's like...
That's something that got much worse in the last decade than it was when I was on the job.
Yeah, and for probably some of the reasons that we're talking about, you know. I mean,
I'm sure this certainly can't help it. That's for sure.
One does need, you know, to be appreciated and you know to get the satisfaction out of your work that you wanted to get. And when they tie your hands, it's like it makes it more dangerous for the whole country. What can we do? What can we do?
Well, they'll wake up sooner or later. Sooner or later, like John said earlier, they had to bring in Rudy Giuliani, and sooner or later they're going to have to bring somebody.
He's the man. He's the man for the job.
I'm behind Bernie Carrick for sure.
You know, I heard a great expression about missing the job. I love the circus, but I don't miss the clowns. Vote these clowns out of office.
Absolutely. Jim, thanks so much for being here, man. Thanks for coming.
I got to shout out to Ralph. I want to thank you for having me on, Pat, and Ralph for inviting me, because I feel if this was back in the 1800s, I feel like a little small-town sheriff that's sitting with Wyatt Earp. Okay, and I'm sure John feels the same way. This man was a legend. When I was a new guy, and even back then, you know, I only had a couple of years in New York, and he was a legend back then, and it's an honor to be on the same panel with him. Thank you.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't belong here with any of you guys. You know,
Jim used to work with my brother.
Yeah, way back when.
Way back in trans in the early 70s.
Yeah, and you know, John, you know,
small world.
Yeah, all you guys know each other.
Yeah.
Why can't you guys just enforce the law? You know what I mean?
Yeah, wish it could be that easy.
Informally, you know.
Wish it could be that easy.
But thank you for having us and sticking up for law enforcement.
Please,
we appreciate that, Pat, giving us this platform. You know,
anytime.
Thank you.
I wish this was the show that I did. I wish it was always this. I mean, but it can't be because
see you next Tuesday.
You guys have lives and stuff. All right, and thank you, Drew, for that, and Garrett, everything. Thanks, Anthony Cumia. Nice to be back in doing this live with the Dream Team here. Yeah.
Best text anywhere.
Quick look. All right, you can just roll the ending thing. Have a good night.